Hello and welcome back to another Mutation Surveyor software webinar. Today's focus is on how annotation from external databases can be used when working within a project. The variation tracks is an optional feature that enables annotation from external databases to be imported and applied to mutation projects. Databases commonly imported include dbSNP ClinVar, gnomAD ExAC, dbNSFP, EVS, and custom in-house databases. Each database is imported as its own variation track. Annotation from these databases can be used in a number of ways. Variant calls made in the project that are included in any of these databases can be annotated using the information provided by the database for reporting purposes. The tracks may also be used to filter variant calls. Calls can be filtered based on reported status, which can help for reporting novel variants, or can be filtered based upon certain criteria. For example, if wanting to report variant calls deemed pathogenic as reported by ClinVar. Certain requirements must be met before working with the variation tracks. A whole human genome needs to be imported. Imported tracks need to include the chromosome coordinates for this build, and projects must contain chromosome coordinates that belong to the same build of the imported genome. Hardware requirements in addition to the minimum specifications also come into play. In order to successfully establish the variation tracks, we recommend a 64-bit operating system and at least 12 gigabytes of available RAM and 200 gigabytes disk space. Reference and Track import is done through the Reference and Track Manager tool, which is located under the Tools menu. Please view the available Reference and Track Manager tool webinar to learn how to use this tool to import your reference and variation tracks. Once everything has been imported, track query can be done before or after running a project. To start, navigate to Process, Query Reference Tracks. From the window that opens, use the Reference Genome Build dropdown to select the preferred genome build. The selected genome build must have the same chromosome coordinates as the GenBank file that is loaded or to be loaded into the project. Please note that GenBank files automatically downloaded by the software using the default settings contain chromosome coordinates relative to build 37 of the human genome. All tracks that were imported under the selected build will display in the below table. Check the boxes next to the tracks you would like to query. If needed, click the Run Reference and Track Manager button to launch the Track Manager tool. When ready, click the Run Query button. This will open the Variation Tracks settings. The tracks that were selected for query will be listed on the left. Click on a specific track name. Filtering options available for that track will then appear on the right. Located at the top of the right pane are options to filter based on reported status. By default, the option to show all is selected. This will include all variant calls in the project. Change the option to Reported to show only those mutation calls reported by the selected database. Alternatively, change the selection to Unreported to show only those mutation calls that are not reported by the selected database. Any annotation fields for the track that can be used for filtering will be displayed below the Show options. To only include variant calls that match certain annotation criteria, first check the top box to the right of the words "at least," and then use the dropdown to select the number of criteria that must be met to include a variant call in the project. Then, use the following list to check the fields you want to set as required criteria and assign the preferred restrictions. Settings are also available for including annotation in reports and in the graphical analysis display. To select what annotation fields should be reported, click on the Report Display link located near the top right. At the top of the Report Display Settings dialog are two checkboxes, one for Display Track Group and one for Display Track Name. Selecting these boxes will result in each of the annotation fields selected for display to be preceded with the group and/or name of the track that was assigned during the import process. Below these checkboxes is a list of available annotation fields that can be displayed in the project. Check the boxes next to the annotation fields you wish to display. A Select All and Deselect All button can be used to aid in the selection process. Click OK when finished. The same process can be repeated for each track. Before closing out of the variation track settings, options are available for saving and loading settings files. To save your selected track settings to a file in order to load in the future, click on the Save Settings link and then select Save to File. Choose a location and name for saving the file and then click Save. To load your variation track settings file, click the Load Settings link and select Load from File. Navigate to the proper location where your file is stored, select your file and click Open. Tracks settings can be cleared at any point by clicking on Load Settings and selecting Clear All Track Settings. Click OK when done. The variation tracks will appear in the graphical analysis display. If this pane does not appear, click the Show Hide Tracks icon located in the top toolbar. You can return to the Tracks settings at any time by clicking the Variation Tracks Settings icon also located in the top toolbar. Looking at the Variation Tracks pane, the track titles are located to the left of each track. Green tick marks represent positions of reported variance. Hover over each tick mark to display the available annotation at that position. Queried tracks can be quickly hidden or displayed by right-clicking anywhere in the pane and selecting which tracks to display or hide. Annotation selected to include in reports will be displayed in the Annotation column of the Mutation table at the bottom of the gnomAD. Mutation calls that were filtered based on the applied settings will also be displayed in this table, with a comment in the Actions column naming the track that filtered the call. The annotation fields selected in the report display settings can be included in reports such as the Project Reviewer Report and the Custom Report. To include this annotation, open the Custom Report Settings dialog by going to Reports, Custom Report. Click on the Mutation tab and check the box next to Reported Variant Annotation under the General Information section. Click OK when ready to generate the report. Annotation can be included in the same cell as the mutation call or displayed in a separate cell depending on the settings selected for the report. This concludes the webinar on utilizing the variation tracks with external annotation in Mutation Surveyor projects. For more information or to request a free 35-day trial, please visit softgenetics.com or send an email to info@softgenetics.com. All technical inquiries can be sent via email to our technical support group at tech_support@softgenetics.com. Thank you for joining me today and viewing this webinar.